Mental energy is like fuel, essential, limited, and easy to waste. And in a world where distractions are normalized and overthinking is glorified, many of us burn out without even realizing why. This video breaks down 5 toxic habits that silently drain your mental energy every single day. If you've ever felt mentally exhausted even after doing very little, it's not laziness, it's leakage. And once you identify where that energy is going, you can take it back. Let's begin. Overthinking everything. Overthinking is one of the most deceptive habits. It feels like you're being productive, like you're preparing for every scenario, but in reality you're just exhausting your mental energy. It's mental noise that drowns out your ability to make clear decisions. Let's understand how deeply this toxic habit infiltrates your life and what you can do about it. The illusion of control. Most people overthink because they believe that thinking more will give them control over the future. They believe if they analyze enough, rehearse enough, and prepare enough, they'll avoid pain, embarrassment, or failure. But life doesn't work like that. You can rehearse 1,000 conversations in your head, and the real one will still go differently. You can analyze a situation from every angle, and life will still surprise you. Overthinking does not equal control. In fact, it creates paralysis. The more you think, the less you do. The more scenarios you play out in your mind, the harder it is to choose one. You end up stuck between decisions, frozen by the fear of choosing wrong. But here's the truth. No decision is perfect. Every path has its challenges. You learn and adapt by moving, not by thinking endlessly. The cycle of worry. One thought leads to another. A small doubt snowballs into a full-blown fear. Overthinking often starts with a single question like, what if I mess this up? And spirals into catastrophic predictions. What if I lose everything? What if people laugh at me? What if I regret this for the rest of my life? This loop drains your energy because the brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. When you visualize a worst-case scenario, your body reacts with stress hormones, adrenaline, and cortisol as if it's actually happening. Overthinking keeps your mind in a constant state of emergency. You can be lying in bed, perfectly safe, and still feel anxious and tense. Why? Because your brain believes your thoughts are threats. Decision fatigue. Overthinkers experience decision fatigue more quickly than others. They question every little choice. What to wear, what to say, when to call someone, whether to speak up or stay silent. And with every decision, their energy drains further. Eventually, even simple tasks feel overwhelming. This fatigue bleeds into other areas. Overthinkers often struggle to sleep well because their minds won't shut off. They may procrastinate not out of laziness, but because they've already exhausted themselves before starting. And then comes guilt. Why can't I just decide? Why can't I be normal? It becomes a loop of shame on top of stress. Trust and let go. The cure to overthinking is not more thinking. It's trust. Trust that you can handle outcomes even if they're not perfect. Trust that you're allowed to make mistakes. Trust that your worth isn't tied to flawless performance. Learn to make decisions with the information you have. Take action and move forward. Yes, evaluate. But once you've made a choice, let it go. Accept that there will always be unknowns. Peace doesn't come from certainty. It comes from surrendering the need for it. The power of the present. Overthinking is always about the past or the future. Did I mess up? What if this goes wrong? But the present moment, the here and now, is rarely the problem. Most of the time you're safe, breathing, and capable. You're just not mentally here. You're lost in a world of thoughts. Meditation, deep breathing, journaling, even walking outside, these bring you back to the present. They calm the overactive mind and remind you of what's real. The present is your anchor. Make it a habit to return to it whenever your mind starts racing. Mental clarity isn't a gift, it's a discipline. Some people think clarity just happens. It doesn't, it's a discipline. You train your mind to stay calm under pressure, to silence the noise, to pause before spiraling. Start small, catch one thought loop today, interrupt it, ask yourself, is this helpful? Is this true? Is this necessary? If not, let it go. Replace it with action. Even a small action, sending that email, making that call, organizing your room, will bring more peace than hours of rumination. Final thoughts on overthinking. Overthinking doesn't protect you, it imprisons you. It takes your energy, your peace, and your time, but it's not permanent. You can rewire your mind to think clearly, act confidently, and live peacefully. The journey begins with awareness. Notice when you start spiraling. Interrupt the loop, breathe, decide, and move forward. You don't need all the answers to make a move. You just need courage and clarity. And both begin the moment you stop overthinking. 2. Constantly pleasing others. People pleasing seems harmless. After all, what's wrong with being nice, right? But there's a difference between kindness and self-abandonment. When you constantly put others' needs above your own, you're not being generous, you're depleting yourself. One small yes at a time, you erase your identity and drain your mental energy. Where it begins. People pleasing often starts in childhood. Maybe you were rewarded for being the good kid, the one who didn't make trouble, who kept the peace, who helped out even when it hurt. Maybe you feared punishment or rejection, so you learned that saying yes made you safe. Over time, that pattern becomes internalized. You don't know who you are without someone else's approval. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness, because what once protected you is now hurting you. People-pleasing becomes a prison, a life lived for others while you quietly disappear. The hidden cost. On the surface, people-pleasers look composed, helpful, generous, but underneath they're exhausted. They say yes when they mean no. They tolerate mistreatment to avoid conflict. They work harder than necessary just to avoid disappointing others. It's not that they don't care, it's that they care too much about the wrong things. Every unnecessary yes costs you time, energy, and peace. Every time you hold your tongue to avoid disagreement, you store stress in your body. Over time, this builds into anxiety, resentment, and burnout. You're not supposed to carry everyone's emotions. You're not meant to be available to everyone at all times. You're allowed to disappoint others if it means not disappointing yourself. People-pleasing is manipulation in disguise. Here's the harsh truth. People-pleasing isn't pure. It's a way of controlling how others perceive us. You want to be seen as kind, helpful, selfless, so you bend yourself into whatever shape others want. That's manipulation in a different costume. It's driven by fear, not love. True generosity comes from overflow. People-pleasing comes from emptiness. One gives freely, the other gives to earn worth. You don't need to be needed to be valuable. Your worth is not a reward for compliance. How it drains your mind. Mental energy is tied to boundaries. When you have none, your mind becomes a crowded hallway of other people's problems, opinions, and expectations. You think for them, worry for them, solve their problems, replay their reactions, overanalyze your behavior. It's a mental marathon you never signed up for. And while they go about their lives, you're left anxious, drained, and frustrated. You can't keep pouring from an empty cup and expect to stay mentally strong. Redefining boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they're filters. They're not to keep people out but to keep your peace in. You can be kind and still say no. You can love someone and still set limits. You can be generous without sacrificing yourself. Start small. Say let me think about it instead of an automatic yes. Say I'm not available for that right now. Watch how your body feels when you say no. At first it'll feel like guilt, but over time it becomes relief. That's your energy returning. Self-respect over approval. You won't be liked by everyone. No matter how helpful, kind, or accommodating you are, someone will still disapprove. That's life. But your job isn't to be liked, it's to be real. People who truly love and respect you will honor your boundaries. They'll appreciate the real you, not the version you perform. And those who walk away, better to lose approval than lose yourself. Your peace is the priority. People-pleasing teaches you to prioritize comfort over truth, but the truth sets you free. It gives you peace, not just in your relationships but in your own mind. Peace comes when your actions match your values. Peace comes when you stop explaining yourself. Peace comes when you realize you are enough, even when others disapprove. Let go of the need to be everything for everyone. Start being everything for yourself. 3. Comparing yourself to everyone. Comparison is the thief of joy, but more than that, it's the destroyer of energy. Every time you compare, you shift focus from progress to perception, from self-worth to self-doubt, and that constant mental ping-pong wears you out emotionally. Why we compare? We live in a world of constant exposure. Social media, success reels, perfect selfies, curated lives. It's impossible not to compare. We compare income, looks, relationships, popularity, even how productive someone's morning routine looks. But comparison isn't new, it's biological. Our brains evolved to observe the tribe and position ourselves for survival. Am I good enough? Was once about life or death. Now it's about social relevance, and it's killing our peace. What comparison does to the mind. Comparison sends a message to your brain. You're behind, and that's a stressful signal. It creates a sense of urgency, lack, and failure. Even if your life is going fine, you start questioning, why am I not there yet? Why don't I look like that? Why does everything come easy to them? These thoughts don't motivate, they paralyze. You feel stuck not because you're incapable, but because you're overwhelmed by others' perceived success. And here's the irony. Most of what you're comparing yourself to isn't even real. It's edited, filtered, inflated, performed. You're judging your raw life against someone else's highlight reel, and feeling like a failure. You can't win their race. Comparison assumes everyone has the same destination, but they don't. Some bloom at 20, others at 50. Some thrive in relationships, others in solitude. Some shine online, others build quietly in the shadows. You can't win a race that isn't yours. Every time you compare, you rob yourself of your own momentum. Your energy that could be used for growth gets spent on envy. And envy is a bottomless pit. No matter how much you pour in, it's never enough. The energy drain of social surveillance. When you're busy watching others, you neglect your own garden. You scroll through posts, analyze lifestyles, envy bodies, judge progress and end up exhausted without even moving. This mental surveillance keeps you in a loop of dissatisfaction. You're rarely present, rarely grateful, rarely focused, and you start shaping your life to look like theirs, not realizing that what works for them might not fulfill you at all. Reclaiming your focus. Comparison ends where focus begins. Shift your gaze inward. What do you want? What makes you come alive? What's your definition of success? Build that. Water that. Unfollow accounts that make you feel less. Limit time on platforms that distort reality. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your values, not just your goals. Journal your wins. Celebrate your effort. Notice how far you've come. Because real energy comes from alignment, not appearance. Be your only competition. Instead of comparing to others, compare to who you were. Are you kinder, more patient, more consistent? That's progress. Growth isn't always visible. It's internal. It's subtle. It's slow, but it's sacred. The moment you stop looking sideways and start looking forward, your energy returns. The peace isn't out there. It's in staying true to your path. Verbiterating with people who will never understand you. One of the most silent killers of mental energy is arguing with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You think you're defending yourself. You're actually just draining yourself. Why we engage? We argue because we want to be heard, validated, respected. When someone misjudges us or says something untrue, it feels like an attack on our identity. We want to correct it. We want justice. But here's the reality. Some people don't want to understand. They want to win. And when you argue with such minds, you're not having a conversation. You're fighting a wall. You're not convincing them. You're exhausting yourself. The false reward. Arguments give a temporary rush. The adrenaline. The sense of I stood my ground. But afterwards, you're tired, anxious, replay every word, wonder if you said too much or not enough. The truth is, arguing feels like release, but it's actually a leak, a hole in your energy tank, and the more you defend, the more you doubt yourself. The ego trap. Much of our need to argue comes from ego. They can't talk to me like that. They need to know I'm right. I'll show them. But the ego is a trickster. It tells you that silence is weakness, and confrontation is power. That's a lie. Real power is walking away. Real power is preserving peace. Real power is knowing the truth and not needing to announce it. You don't owe anyone a rebuttal. Your actions, your results, your peace, that's your statement. The cost of always being right. Being right is expensive. It costs you time, energy, sometimes even relationships. You burn mental fuel trying to prove something that doesn't need proof. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every attack needs defense. Some people argue for sport. Let them play alone. You don't have to attend every battle you're invited to. Protect your peace. Learn the art of graceful silence. Responding is optional. Explaining is optional. You are not a customer service agent for your own identity. Peace is worth more than victory. Let others misunderstand you. Let them assume. Your peace is too expensive to spend on proving yourself. Ron 5. Living without purpose. A life without purpose isn't peaceful. It's exhausting. Because when you don't know where you're going, every step feels pointless. Every task feels like a weight. What purpose really means. Purpose isn't about being famous or changing the world. It's about direction, alignment, meaning. It's waking up and knowing your why. It's choosing work that reflects your values. It's choosing rest without guilt, because you know what you're working towards. When you lack purpose, your days blend into each other. You scroll more, complain more, drift more, and your energy scatters. Signs you're living without purpose. You feel chronically bored or restless. You say yes to everything because you have no guiding why. You overthink small things because your big picture is unclear. You feel jealous of others doing meaningful work. You escape into distractions, scrolling, gossip, TV, endless busyness. You don't find purpose, you build it. Start with curiosity. What excites you? What breaks your heart? What feels natural? Maybe it's art. Maybe it's service. Maybe it's building something meaningful. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. It just has to energize you. Structure creates freedom. Without structure, your energy leaks. You're pulled in 10 directions and complete none. With purpose, you say no faster. You focus better. You're not trying to impress. You're trying to progress. You don't waste mental space on drama, doubt, or distractions, because you know what matters. Even a small spark is enough. You don't need a grand mission. You just need a reason. Helping one person, building one skill, creating one piece of art, living aligned to one truth. That's purpose. That's energy. Don't wait for clarity. Create it. Start anywhere, and your energy will follow. Mental energy isn't infinite. Guard it like gold. Every thought, every interaction, every choice either drains you or fuels you. Remove these toxic habits and feel the difference, not just in your mind, but in your entire life. Speak less, stress less, think better, live deeper. Subscribe to Echo of Legends for more timeless wisdom that protects your peace and strengthens your soul.